What's up, guys? Welcome to the final episode. We're going to talk a lot about short-handed play and also share some tips and tricks about heads-up play, which is very important, and that's where most of the money gets divided. So let's take a look. All right, he's not going to bet his 4x. That's too bad. If they check, I actually have a bigger chance of losing. Isn't that funny? You can check under pairs, 4x. I'm more happy about my queen high when he bets than when he checks. One of those.
Okay. Start to be interested in whether or not this player is folding too much.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 6x, so that's a big ass size. Still calling with this, but that's definitely a crazy size. You don't have any fear. You take a shot at it as soon as he checks. I don't mind that. But...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. This is like one of the worst combos you're gonna have, but you are gonna have to defend here with some pretty trashy hands against this bet size. But I think that's one of the ones that's probably gonna be fine to let go.
Min raise out of position.
Yeah. So this player's strategy seems very chaotic. So
first thing chaotic is such a good word for it.
Yeah.
You can just see this guy like sitting behind his computer, like fucking heavy metal blazing, you know, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. It's like min raising sometimes, 6xing sometimes.
He's just throwing darts.
Yeah. Probably folding too much versus small 2-bets. So starting to be like, okay, this player's heads up strategy seems less refined. Definitely not folding against 8,400 into 17,000 half pot. That's good. Probably gonna have to fold now. Yeah. Okay. Bets 4 into 17. We end up calling here. So how do you think about this when you called?
I mean, I'm gonna have to defend so many hands. I mean, okay. So I can't classify all the queen highs the same. I think that obviously queen deuce and queen 3 are a big dog to defending with queen 5 and up because the kicker can outpair the 4. But still, I just feel like for this one big blind bet on a board that he's going to pure c-bet, I just need to defend my queen highs.
So, I mean, like, yeah, it just comes down to how easy it is to have overcards to that 4. So I'd fold, but I don't think it's like this is like some tragedy, but you just like almost the entire range that you have, right, has not the entire range, but almost the vast majority of it has 2 overcards as 4. And so it's a very few combos that are actually like screwed against like, you know, a pair that he can have. And this is one of them. So I'd fold, but I don't think this is like the end of the world, but I would have folded. Yeah. I mean, like you have queen high is going to win a lot. Like I'm not surprised by that.
You're saying.
Yeah.
It's like a hand like 6-7 is already like, oh, I can see the merit in that, you know?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you know, I could defend 6-5 off. I could defend 7-6 off. Like, you know, I don't think you want to get too carried away. I'm definitely not defending hands like 9-7 off. Like, that's just nuts. But, you know, you can defend hands like Jack 10. Which, like, if you have Queen 3 off and Jack 10, like, they beat pretty similar subsets of hands. But I'd rather have Jack 10 there. We've got the backdoor straight draws to the king. The Jack is probably good because you've got a 10 kicker. The 10 is probably good because you've got a Jack kicker. Like the queen is probably not good for you. If you know, if when you improve to a queen, if the other guy's a queen, you obviously lose because you have a 3 kicker. So I'd rather have Jack 10 there. So yeah. All right, so we limp. We get isolated again to just like some bonkers size. Makes it 20,000.
Bang.
Yeah, you just fire back right at him. Take no prisoners. No mercy. Okay. This seems fine.
See, this is the kind of stuff that I want to see more often, you know, where they do something, you're like, oh wow, okay, no fair. Like instead of like, oh, you should have bet here, oh, you should have 3-bet here, oh, do you ever 3-bet this hand? You know, now we need to enter the stage where we're just like, okay, you gotta slow down, buddy.
Sure. So I mean, maybe that you get the speech now. So we check call one big blind bet on the flop, and then he fires 20 into 25. So he bets like 80% of pot here. So what's going on with your like? What do you think about?
I think one of the things that I'm worried about is the fact that a lot of hands that I beat now have a shitload of equity against me. So I feel like it's gonna be really hard to play rivers, because a 9 introduces a lot of equity for, you know, random 8-7, 8-6, Jack-7, etc. Backdoor flush gets introduced. So I mean, ace high is probably pretty good on this board, but I'm gonna be not good a big part of the time, and then not good by the river or face some annoying decision. So copping out early.
Yeah, I'd fold it. You obviously beat a large fraction of his range. I mean, the flop was 10-10 deuce, so like mostly he has nothing, and then he barrels, and like he could still just have nothing. So you can definitely win. But yeah, like there's not a lot of really great ways for this to run out that like improve the equity realization here. This player's strategy is sort of, like I said, chaotic, which means that like I can probably beat him just by playing like a little bit of a cleaner strat, because he's going to make mistakes. Like these players, yeah, the strategy is just not very clean, so they're going to make mistakes. I'm going to be able to figure things out and find good places basically to invest chips where I think I'm getting a pretty high return. I would describe the situation as basically like not being very bad, but not one that's like where I expect to be getting a really high return at all. And I don't want to say like I'm edge passing. I just don't think that what I'm saying is I don't think there's an edge here. Like I think this hand's like, I don't know, maybe it's worth 0, maybe it's worth less than 0, maybe it's worth barely more than 0, but it's not worth much more than 0. And there will be lots of scenarios that I can figure out against a player like this one, where, you know, is this player defending enough pre-flop? I don't know. I'd probably push it and find out. Is this player 3-betting enough pre-flop? No. Is this player isolating enough pre-flop? Probably. Is this player investing too much when they isolate? Probably, because they're using sizings that are like off tree, like 6x. I think that's probably on tree at the margin. Like there's probably a little bit of it, but there's definitely no min raising. So when you pair those two strategies together, it's very unlikely this player is playing reasonably well pre-flop. So given the combination of like min raising and 6xing, you can probably limp really strong hands and take advantage of this player's pre-flop range. Like you start to build in ways to beat the shit out of this guy,
Yeah.
basically. And like this ain't how I'm going to do it. So I would probably just fold.
Look at me.
Okay.
So funny, isn't it? Where I'm just like, I'm just talking about how, like, yeah, I mean, don't need to rehash it all, but I'm like talking about all these reasons why I should fold. I just see call, and you're just like, oh, okay, interesting.
So he folds again, and there's just like not that much folding. I mean, like this guy's supposed to have like a 10% fold or something.
Yeah.
Like it's not supposed to be 20 or like 25. He's folding so much that I'm just like, all right, like I'm gonna start playing hands and finding out if you're folding too much, dude. Like,
yeah, I honestly think that some of that was going on from my side as well.
All right, so we 3-bet. This is good. He calls, whatever. It's a shitty flop. Probably still gonna bet. Don't hate checking. Okay, he calls. It's annoying. I'm definitely gonna check this turn. This guy probably has a jack. There's not much I can do about it. I'm just gonna check and lose a lot. Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. So this guy like does this click min raise again. This is kind of what I'm talking about, where like as soon as I start seeing a lot of this, this is just not disciplined. And I'm not saying that the frequency for isolating is not supposed to be it's supposed to be low. It's not. It's supposed to be like 40% plus. It's supposed to be like right around 40 to 45. The same frequency that you would expect blind versus blind ordinarily. That's a coincidence. The range construction, the shape of the range is different, but the frequency is actually pretty similar. So you should expect like a lot of raises, but this player's, you know, raising quite a bit. And again, sometimes you're getting like a jackpot when you limp because this player's like putting in 6x or 5x or something, and you get paid this massive payoff because he's just using the wrong size. Not here, but in a lot of the other examples. So I don't mind this limp. I probably would raise his hand because I would be like sort of annoyed if I got 6x here. I would rather I would limp a lot of the like this player doesn't seem to be 3-betting a lot, but they seem to be isolating a lot. So I would be using like I would be like molding my preflop strategy around raising the middle like the top, like the upper middle that doesn't want to play a 6x pot pre-flop, which would be like this, and I would be limping like the top and even like the top middle that doesn't mind playing a 6x pot pre-flop. And I would be limping, and I'd probably be raising a lot of the trash too, because this player seems like he's folding too much. So this is like heads up is where you go very off tree like very quickly, I think, because you can just build too big like when someone's playing the way this player's playing, because there's just too much of a pre-flop edge available in like sort of the off tree strategies.
I was gonna say I think it's very interesting that normally we always like we always stay on tree, we always stay on like solver strat, and now it's because you have to beat the field, and now we're against one player, and and like you said, like you want to beat the shit out of this guy, so you're against one player, and you immediately start talking exploits, which is I think the first time ever that you go towards exploits, because when he said I like to raise his hand, my very first thought was, but it's a limp, heads up, so. But then you come with a really good reasoning, player based.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the main difference is if there's something to exploit, I have no problem exploiting it. I think that a lot of players like they try to exploit stuff and they just like they're seeing something that's not there. This guy's definitely got a strategy that has holes in it. And it's not like doesn't take rocket science to figure out what they are. So yeah, we'll take advantage of that if we see it. And we're getting like repeated instances because we're seeing the same scenarios over and over and over again. Whereas like when you play in 9-handed or something at a tournament and some guy plays a hand in a funky way, it's like, is he doing that a lot, or is he doing that never, or is he doing that in a mix, or like what's happening? But when it's heads up, like you just get you get repeated trials like over and over and over again, and you can start to build a profile like very quickly about like, okay, this guy's playing certain scenarios in a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Okay, so he isolates you, and then he checks on a rainbow board, which is like, I don't know, it's fine, I guess. You bet, which is good, like sizing choice as well. He calls. Going to barrel, don't think it's very defensible to check, so I would pure c-bet. I think you can probably go big. This is fine. I think you can go bigger, but I think this is still reasonable. Against this type of player, I'm probably going bigger. And when I say this type of player, again, what I mean is basically someone who's playing a little bit more chaotically. So when I think I have the best hand, like I'm going to drive investment very hard because I think there's like a higher probability than normal that this player calls 3 streets with like 3-2 of clubs because he fucking feels like it. So when I have like the actual made hand components of my range, like we're going to like kind of redline it a little bit. So yeah, I probably pot it, but I don't think this is stupid size. Yeah, I'm going to pot it again. I'm not going to jam, but I'm not going to bet very small either. Yeah, this is close to pot, so I'd go bigger. But I would have gone bigger across all of the streets. So, yeah.
You see, like this would be a good hand to raise one day limp and heads up. It's actually glaringly obvious I don't know lyrics to certain songs when you guys don't hear the music. You guys are like, wait, was that the seed or? I don't know, bro.
Okay, so he min raises. We don't fold suited hands, heads up, so I like to call. And we're gonna call. So what are you thinking about?
So I'm kind of thinking that I feel like this is the kind of spot, like especially heads up, where you can just overbet. I will say that he doesn't seem to have a very balanced game where I don't think he gets this river with a 7, right? I think that he bets a 7 on a turn. I think he bets a king on a turn. So he's struggling. I mean, he could call with a 4. Like that's where I think my calls are coming from. So, I mean, generally I would say that this is like nice to just bet 45k or something. Maybe. I mean, we're supposed to check raise kings a lot too versus 25%, but still. Yeah, I just don't know if that's good against this player, but I mean, I think if his range is so dust, then he's not going to pay 15k either. So then I might as well overbet and hope that he has something that he wants to call with.
So I think that here kicker matters a lot, and I don't think it matters a lot because like it's the kicker in the way that other people think about it. I think it matters from like in a blocker oriented way. So I think when you have ace deuce, for example, you don't want to bet that because I think like it's reasonable to assume that a large fraction of the calling component of this player's range will be ace high, or to a lesser extent, queen jack high or something like that. So I don't necessarily think you want to blast at it with like an ace in your hand. I don't know if you want to blast it with a queen in your hand either. But I think that like the further down variations of these hands, you'll see a lot of betting typically. Um, Boats, I think you could expect probably to see, like if for example you had like four deuce, for example, I think you could expect to check that as well, because that blocks where a lot of the value is coming from. As you pointed out, you said like, if I bet here and get called, it's likely to be a 4. So if you block that where that value is coming from, you probably don't want to.
Yeah.
It's the same thesis as the ace deuce, right? So ace deuce, 4 deuce, maybe queen deuce. Those variations of the hand, a 7 deuce, I'd probably check raise on the flop. Those variations of the hand, I probably want to check and then check raise. So this goes into the betting category for the most part. And then as far as sizing goes, it's probably between like 2x pot and pot or something like that. This is a little on the small side.
Yeah, I keep going towards like 85% when I want to bet big.
Okay, so we limp queen 5 suited. This guy puts out a 5x ISO again. This kind of speaks to why I like the types of, like, why I'm trying to fade this, because I mean, this is something that we can anticipate now. Would queen 2 suited have been a hand that I would have wanted to limp? Maybe not. I mean, like, maybe this is the type of hand I would have wanted to min raise. Whereas again, queen 2 offsuit would have for sure been the type of hand that I would have wanted to limp. Let me rephrase that. Like, queen jack suited would for sure have been the type of hand that I wanted to limp. I might have even wanted to limp queen 2 off, because he's not 3-betting. Like, he's doing this ISO a lot, but we just haven't seen much of the 3-betting from him. What's going through your head pre-flop as far as like how far down you have to call? You did call with this, so
yeah,
like
I probably I would assume that he's like the bad part of his range is gonna include some sort of like king 5 off component. I think so. I do think it's important that I outkick some of that. I don't think this has the playability to call 6x, to be honest. I think this is a mistake.
I think it's close. Like, I didn't like look at it and think like this was like some mistake. I just wanted to hear what you thought about it, but it's close. And it's kind of just speaks to like which hands do I want to limp. I would be actively thinking about that, because I'm pretty actively thinking about how to beat this guy as opposed to something else. I don't mind checking here. I think this is just really close pre-flop. I don't have thoughts on it. Maybe it's a fold, maybe it's a call. I don't know. This is not like my most studied area, so I don't. This is close to me. Flop check is it's reasonable. I don't mind betting with a 2 kicker, but you're probably gonna face a lot of check raises, and that's gonna be super annoying. So I don't mind checking. This guy bets 50,000, so I guess I fold.
Yeah.
Okay, so he raises to min. We call. We check. He bets 5. So he bets a quarter pot, and we check raise small. So thoughts on the small check raise size?
I feel like I need to be aware of the fact that I don't have any of the strong aces, so it's not like I can just go crazy and go super pull. I'm really struggling for like super strong hands. Of course, I have ace 3, ace 6, but I think it's more of a like a playful raise. Like, okay, let's bump the pot a bit. I think that makes a little bit more sense with the ace-x component that my range has. Obviously, stack depth doesn't really want me to check raise this small, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, my default to check raise would have been to a bigger size. That's all. I think the check raising hand is very viable, but I would have check raised bigger, and the big part of the reason for that would be that my check raising range is maybe a little bit more polar. Maybe it should be more linearly constructed. Maybe I should have more 6x in my check raising range, but I would be probably check raising a lot of good hands. Like ace 6, 6-3, ace 3 to a lesser extent, pocket threes. It's not ace x, but less like. I don't know. I expect you to 3-bet pocket 7s or 8s or 9s or something like that. I guess maybe not. How do you bet 50 bigs? I mean, yeah, you could still probably 3-bet at least a little bit of those hands. So, if not all of them. So, yeah. So I think that I'm probably gonna have a more polar check raise, and that's going to lead to a larger size. So we're also not really short, so it's going to be relevant to using a slightly bigger size against Daxon. But probably go bigger than this. Don't think this is bad though. Ooh, that's an interesting card. So now what? You checked. What do you think? How do you think this works?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I generally don't think it's a great card for me. I mean, I make a pair, but after he calls and it being a heart, I'm just not too comfortable with the fact that it's good. Can't really get value from anything. Will only fold out worse. So I feel like I do better playing versus his floats and check. You know, like his floats that have like a single heart or something that are gonna call me anyway. But yeah, I don't know if you understand what I mean. Like I feel like if I bet, I just put myself across from the ace x 6x flush block without having too much upside. I mean, to be honest, like if he does have Jack 10 with a heart and he folds, it's obviously massive. But I just kind of want to go towards showdown more now with this hand.
Okay. Where does your air come from on this card?
That is a very good point. 3-4. No, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, so maybe I look at this like, oh, 5 can win, and I put it in my value bucket. But maybe it's just like, okay, but what about my bluffs? And all of a sudden, then it blocks like turn 2 pairs and straights and whatever.
I think that what I was trying to get at when I said like where your bluff's coming from is that this card's actually probably pretty good for you, in the sense that when you can't identify bluffs, it means that the card filled out like most of your range, which is pretty much the way that I would think about this. It's ace high flop. You're probably using like a fairly clean check raising strategy. Someone might argue that you have some king of hearts in the range, but a lot of that's probably going to call. I'm not saying that you have none of it, but a lot of that will probably call. So most of your range will be like gut shots, flush draws, and open enders, and then 2 pair plus, right? So like on this particular turn card, your range is filled out like almost entirely. So this is probably a pretty good card. And then as far as like the 6x component of your opponent's range, that's probably gonna have to fold when you barrel. The ace x component will have to call, but the 6x component will probably have to fold. So yeah, so I'd probably barrel this, but I do think it's close.
That's cool thoughts. Yeah.
We limp. We get ISO'd. So again, I'd probably be min raising this hand against this player. Just I think we don't. I don't think we've seen any 3-bets. But I think we've seen so many ISOs that like if I have these like playable hands that don't want to see a 6x ISO, I'm gonna raise them.
Yeah, I need to adjust more. You're right. I need to think about that more actively. Like, what is exactly happening here?
Okay, this call seems good. I don't like absolutely hate a 3-bet or anything, but I'm probably gonna call. Okay, probably gonna start blasting. Probably gonna be overbetting. It's probably going to be fairly large overbet. It's probably gonna be like close to 2x pot.
I'm probably betting 3/4. Hey!
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Damn.
There he is.
So I don't mind this. We catch a 6x ISO. So you see what I'm saying though? Like his strategy is predictable. It's not like this is different than being in a 9-handed tournament where like some guy does something once and then you have to like extrapolate in some massive way. Like this guy's doing this over and over again. Like it's easy to figure out what he's doing and you just build a strategy that's good against it.
It's a good lesson.
So how do you think about this?
I mean, I think my hand has a shitload of equity, blocks calls. I kind of feel like this is one of those. I kind of feel it's very similar to chip leader opens or whatever. Not chip leader, but somebody opens. You have 35 bigs in the small blind with ace 5 suited. Jam, or this is a hand that likes to 4-bet shove in ring scenarios, and I kind of feel like this is a similar scenario, right? It blocks. It has really good bluffing capabilities. It has equity when somebody calls, in case they call. So and it blocks where calls come from. But at the same time, when you flat aggression, it has areas where it struggles. So I feel like I need to pick some hands to push back with, and I figured this is a good spot to do it against the 6x.
You definitely have to pick hands to fight back with. Like, I think against this player, that's for sure going to be the case. I think you, generally speaking, particularly when you're looking at evaluating the shoving component, it's generally going to be the hands that don't play flops quite as well. So I think it's likely to be biased towards offsuit ace x. And so like if you have like ace 6 offsuit, for example, that's not a great hand to play a flop with. Like, ace 3 suited by comparison is pretty nice. I'm not saying this is, like we're jumping up and down to call the 6x, but I would rather take the flop away with hands that really play the flop badly. So like ace 6 offsuit, ace 3 offsuit, deuces, 3s, 4s, right? Those hands are the hands that I would want to like really punish this player with. But I don't think this is stupid or anything, but I think that we have to fight back against this player for sure. I'll just fold that. Yeah, good. So I'm probably gonna min raise. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, now we catch a 3-bet. So now we catch a 3-bet and we fold. Probably just gonna call. Probably gonna call again. Probably gonna check. He seems to be allowing you to realize equity with these types of parts of the range without having to do anything. I mean, I'm definitely gonna check, but he bluffs this time. But I don't think he's been very aggressive on the river either.
Yeah, he checked like the 10 high, the queen high. Hey, nice. Lex a really good player. I enjoy your games. Nice. Sick overlay in the marathon. And this one? Low cards. Okay. Interesting. Oh god. God, I'm gonna show. Fuck it. I wanted to bluff. I really felt like this is like, I don't know. Here we go. Okay, the like, how in the fucking world could I ever be bluffing here? Bluff, okay? You guys are witnessing it here. The best hand ever played on stream. Or the worst.
He's coming after your 3-bets now. Defend here, I think it's very reasonable. Check here is also reasonable. Definitely going to be calling. The bet's 30,000, so he's betting a third. So double gut shot, still calling. Pretty good. I mean, like, you can make arguments around raising. I wouldn't do it though, so I'd call. And I'd fold. Ooh, my man just blasted at him.
Yeah.
So what was the thought here? So he bets 85 into, or he bets 75 into 150. So it's half pot, and you decide to rip it.
It's one of those. It's so hard to explain, but it's one of those things where he plays his flops relatively aggressive, and it's just, well, it just doesn't really make sense to me to check this flop after 3-betting pre-flop, and then it didn't seem like the style of player. You know, he plays pretty aggro. I played some pretty big plots with him at the final table, and I was just like, how in the fucking world can I be bluffing here, right? I just pretty much min raise him all in, and
Yep.
I felt that he can even fold some light value bets, just because it's such an underbluffed spot, and it makes absolute sense for me to check a flush draw back on an ace king high board in a 3-bet pot. So I don't know. I feel like he has a lot of single diamond hands. He has a lot of like ace 9. That's those sort of hands, and I really think that if he has like hands that can call off, like, are you really telling me that he checks jack 9 of diamonds on this board? You know, honestly I just don't think so. So I figured that from the way he's been constructing bets and the way I feel that he constructs his range, that this is just always either like a stab or a light value bet, and I underbluff this spot. I think in general people just don't really go for the min raise all in with 5 highs, so I just felt like I had everything together creates a shitload of full equity.
Probably not the combo we should do it with, but but like I don't think it's as bad as like it looks on the surface. So I don't disagree with a lot of what you said based on like what I've seen from the player. It basically, so for people that are like want like, you know, a more rigorous explanation, we're only betting 160,000 chips. So if we're betting 160,000 chips, the total pot's going to be about 400,000 chips. So that means that our opponent has to defend about 60% of the range versus our jam. So that means that they can only fold 40% of the time. So that just doesn't seem right. Like, is kind of like I think what Lex is getting at without without as much like kind of quantitative rigor around like the description of what's going on. But basically, like, this guy probably bets a large fraction of the range. It's easy for him to have air. I mean, it's really easy for him to just have, like, you know, some shitty hand. Check the flop, bet the turn with a diamond or without one because we check back, and then bet again on the river. Yeah. So like that seems like relatively easy. It seems harder for this player to like hero call the river, which is really what's going to be required with the way that this player's range is likely shaped. Considering this player has to defend 60% of it versus a jam. So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it's like, it's obviously not great. You know, you're probably supposed to have a diamond, right? Like, if if we solve it and you look it up, and it's like,
Yeah.
like, how should I do this? And it's like, I don't know, having a diamond would be great, you know, because you're going to lose to the flush. but
That's I
yeah,
think what I said on stream as well. Like I think that it's one of those. I said it's one of those spots where I'm supposed to have a diamond, but it just feels like like how often is this spot heads up with these stack size for this player where I can actually execute that. I understand it's important from a theory perspective because that's exactly where his calls can come from. But it was just one of those moments where you just like, I mean, this is just it. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just I need to do this because it just I don't know. You know, it's like all spider senses were going off about the way he gets to the river with what range.
yeah, it just to me it just feels like the bottom line is I just don't think he's going to be able to defend 60% of his range. Like that's
Yeah.
like that's it. I mean, like, and so you for the same reasons basically you like, yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to call as much as you have to call because the bet's small. Like the thing that people don't realize in these situations is and they don't realize it because they get emotional. Like their heads up and they're deep in a tournament. They're like, I want to like if you just imagine he calls right and you're streaming. I know you're streaming. He calls and everyone's like, you just threw your tournament away, you fucking moron. Like that's what everyone's gonna say, right? They don't realize like first of all, there's no ICM. We're just heads up. There's two of us. There's no ICM, and it's just a it's just a math based game at this point. And the bet is so small that this guy has to call with 60% of whatever he bets this river with, and like that doesn't seem super fucking likely. That doesn't seem super likely. So I really don't hate this play. But you're probably supposed to do it with a diamond or something. So
Yeah.
we'll say that. Okay, we jam. Okay. We get it.
Boom.
We get it. We get the W.
Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't find out what I had while we're playing heads up because I really wanted to break his spirit, But I guess winning the next hand is also really good.
Yeah, winning the next hand is also really good.
Yeah.
Man, congratulations. I thought you played really well. I thought you did a really good job. Used a lot of ideas and things. Like you're playing much better than you were playing, a year and a half ago. For sure. You're aware of a lot of like different ICM concepts, how to build 3-bet ranges, scenarios where maybe you shouldn't be flatting as much. Your chip EV strategy has gotten a lot better. So
do you like my general approach to final tables? If you hear me talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, like wherever I disagreed, I tried to correct. So in general, I think that your final table strategy seemed pretty good. Yeah, I mean, like you're definitely focused. You're aware of the idea that your range will be tighter when you're opening into people that cover you. That other people's ranges will be tighter when they're opening into you and you cover them, and then you're using that to kind of like shape your behavior and how you attack. I didn't see much. I didn't see like a bunch of things I really disliked. So yeah, look good.
Awesome, cool, man. Thanks a lot for this whole experience. I mean, I really loved going over every hand. It leaves no stone unturned, and yeah, let's do it. Let's get a win during Scoop and do it again.
Sounds good, man. Look forward to it.
Right.
Thank you.
So, bro, thank you. All right, guys, that concludes this segment. It's so nice to hear every thought about every single hand, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a mini-series that I plan on bringing back in the future. Let me know in the comments if you want to see it in the future, and if you like the content. Of course, if you have any questions, make sure to ask in the comments. And if you appreciated all the free coaching stuff, then don't forget to subscribe. The BBC links are in the description down below. Head over to bbcpoker.com if you want to start studying. The best time to do it is right now. I'll see you guys next time with more poker coaching. Come on. For the win. For the win. Oh my god. Oh, that's nice.